welcome to RDSC Cbse. This is Ravinder Dundra. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about class 10th Cbse-Geography, resources and development. In continuation with the last lecture, where I stopped in the last lecture is about resources which are classified on the basis of status of development. So, before we discuss about these resources, let me revise what we have discussed in the last lecture. In the last lecture, we have discussed about resources based on the origin, that is biotic, abiotic resources, on the basis of exhaustibility, that is what is that, renewable resources as well as non-renewable resources. Then we have also seen resources based on the ownership. They are individual, community, national as well as international resources. Now we will continue with these resources which are based on the status of development. So as I told, on the basis of status of development, resources are classified into 4 different types. One is potential resources, developed resources, stock as well as reserves. So in detail we will see what are these potential resources, what are these developed resources, what is stock as well as what is reserve. So let us start with this potential resources. Potential resources means what? Those resources which are having, we can say, capacity and these resources which they have capacity but we are unable to utilize these resources properly. So just let me simplify you by saying, so how we can simplify is that potential resources are those resources where the technology is available. We have proper technology to extract these resources. Then at the same time, we people are also willing to use these resources, and at the same time, but we are not utilizing these resources properly. For example, if you take this solar energy as well as wind energy, for these two types of energies, we have proper technology, we are willing to use, but we are unable to utilize them properly. For example, if you take, you all know that our country, India, is a tropical country. That means the amount of sun rays which India receives are somewhat very higher. So according to that, we can use more and more solar energy, but we are not utilizing these resources properly. So the best example is this solar energy in regions like Rajasthan as well as wind energy. So just by taking the examples, we can understand what are these potential resources, where the technology is available, we are willing to use, but we are not utilizing them properly. Then next thing, what are these developed resources? The word itself says, what do you mean by this developed resources? Developed resources means resources which are already well developed, and at the same time we have proper technology and we are utilizing them very well. For example, if you take this coal as well as petroleum, since many years we are using these two different resources, coal as well as petroleum, and they all are very well developed. We have already identified the quantity and quality of these two resources. That means how much quantity is there, then at the same time what is the quality of these resources. So here if you look into this, here we have the technology is available, we are willing to use, and we are all are using it every day. For example, you all know coal we are using by generating electricity, then at the same time petroleum we are using with different products like petrol, diesel, etc. So those resources which are already well developed, we call them as developed resources. Then coming to this stock, what do you mean by this stock? Stock here, we can take it here, we don't have proper technology. How we don't have proper technology? By giving an example, you can understand very clearly. For example, if you take water, what is the chemical formula of water? The chemical formula of water is H2O. That means here two compounds of hydrogen is there, then at the same time one compound of oxygen is there. So if we have proper technology in separating both this hydrogen as well as oxygen, we have huge amounts of energy. We will have more and more energy, but we don't have proper technology in separating this. Of course, some people might have tried in separating this, but in a large amount of energy, we are unable to separate this. That means we do not have proper technical know-how. So that is why we are unable to use it properly. We are just willing to use. We all know that we want to use this energy from this water, but we are not using it properly. Why? Because we don't have proper technology, then at the same time we are unable to use it properly. That is, then last one is this reserves. Reserves means basically you can say they are the subset of stock. That means they are part of this stock. By giving example again, you can understand what are these reserves. Reserves means the water which is flowing in the river dam. Here, in all the dams which are present in India, we can generate electricity from these dams. What kind of electricity we can generate is, for example, we can generate hydroelectricity. But we are not using all these river dams for generating this hydroelectricity. Why? Because these resources are reserved for future purpose. That means for our next coming generations, we are saving these resources and we are not using it in the present day situation. So those resources which are reserved for future purpose, we call them as reserves, which are also the subset of stock. So once again, let me recap. On the basis of status of development, the resources are classified into four different types. They are potential resources, developed resources, stock, as well as reserves. And examples, by examples you can easily remember. Potential, solar energy, wind energy. Developed resources, coal, petroleum. Stock, where we can get more energy from this H2O or water. And reserves means those resources which are reserved for future generation. So in the next class, we will see about this development of resources. Thank you.